Welcome to Heart Home Community's most recent Baldwinsville Community Update. I'm your host, Shelley Hoffman. We hope you enjoy the show and find it very informative. Hey everybody, it's Shelley Hoffman, and this day I am with Bob Wicks for our monthly update on the Town of Lysander. How are you doing today, Bob?
Well, we're doing okay.
Nice. Right. Did you have a nice Easter?
I had a great Easter. My kids are able to come into town, so I had all the grandkids there. My daughter came into town. It was nice. I haven't seen her in a while.
Yeah. I mean, definitely a big difference between last year and Easter. I think that was the first holiday everyone was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What's happening? To a little bit more normal now, or at least we've adjusted to it, right?
So we normally have an Easter egg hunt with about 20 kids there. This year we only had 3 because my daughter didn't want too many kids around her daughter because she's not vaccinated, obviously.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I only had 3 kids, but I don't know if you listened to Chief Leffencheck and I all, but there might have been a larceny charge at my house because my 18-year-old son kept stealing the eggs with the money in it that my 16-year-old was finding. So
yeah,
I got to lay down some rules next year, Bob, if I want to keep doing the egg hunt. So anyway, what's been going on with the town since we last spoke?
Well, we hired a new comptroller. The comptroller's position, David Raleigh's leaving after 30 years, so he's taken a lot of institutional knowledge with him. That was going to be a big, big headache for us, a big problem. All the other town supervisors that I talked to said, you're going to be paying out the nose. They're hard to find. You can't find somebody with the skills that you need. Well, we interviewed a lady. Her name's Therese Pierce. She came in and it was like hitting a home run on the first pitch. I mean, Dave and I interviewed her, and he said, I thought I was going to have to kick you underneath the table because you were drooling. I mean, this lady, when she came in, I mean, she had everything but municipal experience, but everything that we wanted. I mean, she worked for Bloomberg Industries. She's been a comptroller in a couple of places. She's a Cornell grad. She's a CPA. I mean, and she's willing to work part-time, which saves us a lot of money. I mean, and she's working the same days as Dave works. So, I mean, we really got lucky with this, and I'm like very, very happy that she's on board because that is a big responsibility for me. I'm responsible for that, so I rely on the comptroller immensely to make sure that everything is done right, because I just don't have the skills to do that. I mean, I've taken accounting classes, but this is something, even a CPA coming in, I mean, there's a lot of things to know. So.
And you did say that Dave was going to stay on for a little bit, like an overlap period to do some training.
He's going to be here all through the month, and he's training her. She's in all the days that he's here. He works Tuesday through Thursday, and that's what Teresa's working. So all through the month, he's going to be training her. They have an end of year reporting that we have to send to the comptroller. He's going to go through that. Then, and he's showing her how the accounts are. We have 82 or 85 separate water districts that they're all separate accounts. I mean, we have lighting districts. There's a lot of districts out there, and each one is its own independent entity. Like Dave says, you have to think about it as its own company. So the monies have to be kept separate and things like that. So she has a lot to learn over this next month, but he's going to stay on. We're going to keep him on the books for at least a year. He's going to come back in August, end of July, early August, to help her with the first budget. And then he's going to be on call. So if she needs something, she can call. And we want to make sure that she's successful. We don't want to overload her with things because we don't want to lose her. We're lucky finding her. So Dave had agreed to stay on for as long as we need him to help her with it. But I think once she grasps the differences between private industry and the public sector, she'll be great. I think she'll be a superstar.
Nice. Well, that I know that we talked about that a couple months ago. That was kind of weighing on you because you thought, like everybody was saying, it was going to be hard to find somebody. So that's awesome. I think I actually saw her one day when I was walking through the building really quick. I either thought it was her or the assessor, but at one point I want to introduce myself to whoever that lady was sitting there, but she looked like she was running numbers or doing something with numbers. So I didn't want to interrupt her.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of numbers today. Normally I go in and I have conversations, but I'm leaving her alone, leaving the two of them alone. Hopefully Dave doesn't beat her up too much. I just go in every day to make sure she's still here.
she didn't go running for the hills yet, right?
Yeah, that's right. So
nice. So that's good. What about, and it's probably on your list, and I might be jumping ahead. What about for parks? I know you were looking for somebody for the park director or someone to help with the parks.
That was actually next on my list. So we've narrowed it down to a couple of people, and we hopefully this week we'll have a decision made. And two of our counselors and my secretary, Nancy Mott, have been in on those interviews. So I think they're going to give me a recommendation today, and then hopefully we can make that decision sooner than later, because we want to get going with the parks. I get a lot of call about the parks, and we're moving forward on it, but it's just a process like anything else.
Well, and just like the comptroller, you want to get somebody in there that you think is going to be a good fit long term. Right. Yeah. You don't want to bring somebody in just to fill the position and then, halfway through the summer need to find somebody different. So that makes sense.
That's what we want to try and avoid. Speaking about the parks, I've been getting a lot of calls about the pickleball courts. So even though the park isn't officially open, we did bring back two of our people full time right now. They work from 7 to 3 in the afternoon. So I talked to them yesterday, and we're going to have the pickleball courts open from 7 to 3 while they're there. We don't leave them after hours because people get in and they do things to the courts, and those courts, we try to keep them pristine. And we're getting 2 new pickleball courts redone this year, so we don't want them ruined. Kids will go in there with skateboards and things, and although they're not doing it intentionally, but they do damage the courts, so we have to lock them up at the end of the day. But they'll be open Monday through Friday from now on, from 7 to 3 while the parks personnel are there.
So nice.
For the pickleball people, you're should be happy, and you got a couple of nice days. And then we're going to be making a lot of improvements to the park this year. I mean, one of the things that we're going to try and do, I told the parks people and the new director, I'm going to tell them, I want that park to be pristine. That park should look like a golf course when you come in. When you come into a golf course or Disney World, those things are just meticulously maintained. And that's one of the things that I want our park to be like. We're going to add some new things. We're going to have some cornhole boards out there for people to utilize. We're going to have new pickleball courts. We're trying to determine when we're going to put the basketball hoops back up. We're going to redo or make sure that volleyball courts have new sand, and that's going to be in better condition. We're looking at where the old house is next to the park. That was purchased a year before I came here, but we're getting some funding. I'm working on funding now that we should be able to take care of that and have a new field there where we can use for soccer and lacrosse and things like that. So you should see quite a few improvements to the park this year.
Nice. Well, and today's a good day to talk about it, right? Because it's just so pretty outside. You want to be outside doing something. Exactly.
It's great. So you can go and walk, and like I said, the pickleball courts are open, and I think they have the kids' playground open. I think that might be even open, but you certainly can go and walk around there. Speaking of cleaning up things, Earth Day is coming. So on April 24th, I got a lot of calls about Brundage Road. We got a problem over there with people throwing trash out there. And it's
on what road, Bob? What road?
It's the road that runs off of West Entry. It's the road that runs alongside the new bus garage.
Yeah.
And it runs, comes out onto Smoky Hollow, I believe. And I just got to remember where it comes out. But there's, I think some of the truckers that make deliveries at Budweiser. Pretty sure that's who's doing that. And it's not Budweiser trucks themselves, it's independent contractors. So we're trying to work that out to see what we can do to eliminate that problem. I'm working on that now, but in the meantime, there's a lot of garbage over there. So on the 24th from 9 to noon, we're going to have a cleanup day over there for Earth Day. So anybody that wants to participate, right now we probably have about 15 people. I'm going to get a couple of people from the highway, and we're going to clean that area up. So at least the start of the year, and there's some stuff on Loop Road. That Loop Road is a road that's next to the town hall that runs down in the west entry. And that road, there's some trash. We picked up some already, but there's a little bit more out there, so we're going to pick up the rest on that day as well. So if you're interested in coming out 9 to noon, we'd love to have as many volunteers as we can get to clean that area up.
Good.
People may have heard that there's stimulus money, federal stimulus money that has come to Van Buren, Lysander, well, all the towns in Onondaga County as well as the villages. So our portion of it was $2.5 million. Van Buren, I think, received $1.6 million, and out of that, the village will have some of that money, and it depends on how many people within the town live in the village. I think ours would probably be about 20% of the town's population of Lysander live in the village. I'm not sure what it is in Van Buren, but Van Buren will give the village some of their stimulus money, and we will as well. And that'll be distributed by, I think Onondaga County is going to distribute it. So we'll have somewhere around $1.9 to $2 million that we're going to be able to use for infrastructure. Now, when I say infrastructure, it's very specific. Water and sewers, definitely. So there's some areas of the town that need have some water issues and need some work with the water lines as well as sewers. There's areas that we can put in new sewers, but I'm also checking into, we may be able to use that for some of the parks to get that field that I mentioned completed earlier. I'm not 100% sure. I heard from the county executive, I believe that he said that we can use money for the parks, but then I was on another Zoom meeting with an attorney from the Associations of Towns, and she had contrary information. So we won't be getting that until probably somewhere around the end of May, and by then I should have those answers. But it's pretty specific. We can't just use it for anything we want. It's geared towards larger projects, but don't worry, we got plenty of projects to use the money for. And what we're going to try and do is make sure that the most amount of people benefit from the money. You know, we're gonna do things that as many people that can benefit from this money will. So that's what we're doing with that money. We're kind of coming up with a list of things, and then we're going to prioritize them, and then the board and I will take a look and decide where we want to go with that money.
So can I just ask first,
Sure.
We've talked in the past about the county taking over the sewer. So if that money's coming in for infrastructures for water and sewer, do we still maintain the sewers, or if the county takes over, would that change?
We did vote to consolidate with the county. So the county's taking over the maintenance of our sewer district. But if we want new sewers to go in, for instance, I know your friends on Hayes Road were concerned about sewers, and that's one of the areas we're definitely looking at, because if we can get that Hayes Road area taken care of, then you have Brick Walk, you have Amelia Park, as well as Hayes Road. All of those areas would benefit from that. So that's one of the areas that we're looking to put sewers in. Now, any new sewers, we would have to put those in, or a developer would have to put in the new sewers. Once the new sewers are in, then the county will take over and they will take care of the maintenance and of the day-to-day operation of the sewers. But any new sewers we have to put in.
Okay,
now,
thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, we did save some money because we had some maintenance there we had to do, specifically in a Radisson area and River Road area. We had some pump stations that we were going to have to do, some fairly substantial amount of maintenance on them. Now the county's the entity that handles that. So let's see. We have 3 projects, big projects going in. Connell Terrace is going to start. That's going to be up and running, and that road hasn't been done for 30 years. I discussed that, and that's been passed. So as soon as the asphalt plants open up and they can start laying asphalt, we're going to be moving on that. So that probably won't happen until about the end of June, and it'll probably take a few months, and it'll probably be completed somewhere around August. West Entry Road, we're going to do that from. I just signed the contract with the county executive to do that, and that's a $160,000 project between the county, Brian May getting us some grant money, and the National Grid doing some work there where they're going to tear up the road and they're going to pay to have us pave it because we get a better price. We're going to be able to do it from West Century to Loop Road, and it's a $160,000 project. Our portion of it will be about $8,000. Nice. I mean, very, very minimal. And then we have a culvert project going in on Willett Parkway. That's almost a $500,000 project, between $400,000 and $500,000 project. That's a grant. That there's a culvert at the end of the road that's deteriorating. We got a grant from that, and that finally, I think that's finally come through to where we can bid that out. We couldn't bid it out until we got signed contracts, because if we bid it out, we have a signed contract. We're on the hook for the money there. So I wouldn't do it until we got the signed contract. But I think we're just about ready to be able to send out some bid requests for that project. So those are 3 big ones that you'll see going on, and there's substantial infrastructure. I know that's not really things that people go, wow, that's phenomenal, but I do, because I know if they crumble, or the culvert collapses, that could be an issue. So those type of projects I get excited about. I know most people don't, but those are 3 nice projects that will really help us out with our infrastructure in the town.
Nice. Well, and it seems like you said, with grant money, and you probably have some other things to talk about, but we'd mentioned bringing this up. So going on with the projects and things that have to happen, I know, right before we went live, we were talking a little bit about what had been going on. And I told you, with the assessment letters that had gone out, I've gotten a lot of phone calls of people asking me, can you help me with this? Can you explain to me, how my assessment went up so high? And, you've just received a phone call about that as well. And you said you were willing to kind of just go over that process and explain a little bit to us. Would you mind taking a few minutes, Bob, to kind of go over that?
Yes. The assessments, I don't have any control over the assessments. The town assessor is the one by law that's responsible for that. And the town board or anybody here, we do not have any influence over what our assessor does. Now, in saying that, I think she does a good job. Now, everybody in Onondaga County, their assessments are going up. And you're in real estate, I mean, you can confirm that. We were just talking about a home in Mattydale, how they received $10,000 more and sold their house in 2 days. But now they have to come over to Lysander and pay more for the same style house. Well, that wasn't like that a year or 2 ago. To give you an example, one of the local contractors, a friend of mine, R&R Roofing, and I was talking to him about prices of material. And he said last year, a sheet of plywood, CDX, which is what you would put on your roof, 4-ply plywood, was $17. This year, it's $50. So it went up 3 times the amount it did last year. So what does that mean? New home construction is costing about $205 a square foot in the town of Lysander. Put it in perspective. If you have a 1,500 square foot house, you're going to be paying over $300,000 to have that 1,500 square foot house. Well, what did that cost last year? It wasn't 300,000. It was probably somewhere under 200,000. But with the cost of materials going up, so what does that mean? If there's houses being built around and they're selling a 1,500 square foot house, selling for 300,000, that means the price of housing goes up. If your neighbor sells their 1,500 square foot house, where last year they could sell it for 120, like you said, this year they can sell it for 160, and there's 5 people doing that. Well, what does that mean? Your assessments are probably going up because there's a computer system that is triggered if the value of the homes in a specific area drops below, or if the assessed value of the homes in a specific area drops below 95%, it triggers an assessment of that area. And then you take a look at it, okay, see what other homes of comparable homes are selling in that area, and that's how it goes up. The problem for all of us, mine went up, I'm sure yours went up, just about everybody's went up this year because a lot of people are selling homes, and the cost of the value of the homes are up. That's just the facts. Now, in saying that, everybody should be arguing their assessment. That you're right. Our assessor does phone interviews first, then you're able to come in and have an in-person interview. But she gives you 2 chances to argue with her about your assessment. Then, if that fails, then you can go to appeal it with. There's an appeals board, an assessment appeals board. But I think everybody every year should stay on top of their homes, or stay on top of the value of their homes. And when it goes up or down, you know, if it goes up and you haven't been reassessed, that's probably a good thing. I probably wouldn't argue it at that point. But if they do go up, I think you should do some legwork and go in and have that discussion with the assessor. Now, how do you do that? Ongov.net, ONGOV.net. That's the county's website. You can go on there and you can, at the top, you can look along and it'll say tax rolls. You can navigate through that. It takes a little bit of work, but you can see what comparable houses around you are going for. So if you're going to argue your assessment, what you want to do is find some homes around your neighborhood that if you have a 1,500 square foot ranch, try to find other houses. You know, it could be a Cape Cod or it could be a ranch. You know, it doesn't have to be exactly alike, but you would want to have something that's comparable square footage, maybe have the same basement, same size yard in the same neighborhood, and find some comparable homes. And if they're lower than you, that's a good argument for you why yours should be lower.
They and you may have said this, but on ongov.net does have along the left-hand side where it says comparables. So when you click on that, it has the layout of your home. So the other thing that you can verify is, what does it have? Does it have you as a 3-bedroom? Does it have you as a 1.5 bath? People make changes over their homes too. So, you know, I know when we go out to talk to somebody who wants to list their house, we check to see what OnGov has. Do they have all the correct information? So verify your information and then run the comparables. And I could be wrong because I don't know exactly what the assessor uses, but I would assume those comps are similar. And if you look at those comps, this is what I tell people, Bob, if you look at those comps that maybe the county has compared to yours, are they truly comparable to yours? And if they've been on the market recently, you can go on to, different online sites, or if you're friends with a real estate agent or want to call a real estate agent, you know, some of us, it's a crazy market for us. I'm not going to lie as far as, but I have helped a few of my friends at least, do a little bit of research. We can't do all the research for them. But, sometimes we have a little bit of knowledge where we can help. But, compare pictures, when was the last time you put a roof on your house? When was the last time, how old is all the components in your home? Do you have water damage in your house? These are some people that just haven't been able to maintain their homes, and they're being compared to we call them the HGTV homes. It's not really a fair assessment, but the assessor in those computer systems, they're not walking into the homes. Right. So I think that's where the in-person conversation comes in, maybe bringing some photos.
That's a great point. I mean, if you have like I said, a brand new 1,500 square foot ranch is going to cost you over $300,000. Well, if you have a 25-year-old or 35-year-old home, your house isn't brand new. It doesn't have a brand new kitchen. It doesn't have brand new bathrooms. maybe, or it's one of those HGTV homes. But if that's the case, if you're on a fixed income, like we were talking earlier, I spoke with an older gentleman, and he's on a fixed income, and he hasn't done that on his home recently. So why should he be compared to a brand new home? That's where, like you said, an in-person conversation is worth the time and worth the effort, because you should take those things into consideration, because you're not going to be able to get a 30 or 40-year-old home with no updates or upgrades is not going to be valued the same as a brand new home on the market today.
Yeah. So, I mean, to your point, you got to do your due diligence. If you get the letter in the mail and you complain, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. And hopefully it doesn't go up again, next year. It does take time, and, but it's worth it, and I know a lot of people that they're not sure if they're going to be able to bring it down any, but they're at least going to have the conversation. Now, in saying that, I almost feel bad for our assessor, because I can't even imagine what her phone is like right now. But you have to do it for yourself, because nobody else is going to do it for you.
And she's not the only one. I talked to other supervisors. Every assessor in Onondaga County is in the same boat. They're all getting the same calls. Why is my assessment up? Why is my assessment up? This is a crazy market. They have nothing to, they can't control what the home values are worth. And if you look at the value of a home, say your home is assessed at $200,000. Well, would you sell your house for $200,000? Most people would not. They'd probably sell it for $300,000. So it's pretty hard to argue that my house isn't worth that, when most of the houses are actually will sell for more than what they're assessed at. So I mean, that's not that doesn't bring you any comfort, but that's reality. And like we were discussing earlier, Onondaga County forever has been lower than the rest of the country. I think what's happening now is because we are so low, people are moving, like New York City. I mean, I know I get calls from people, and they're blaming it on the people from New York City, and that's probably fair. Someone down in New York City, they could have. I remember years ago when my daughter she had a boyfriend that his mother lived on Long Island. He had a small Cape Cod house, about the size of my wife's family home up on Apple Ridge, and 1,500 square feet. At that time, we're talking back in the early 2000s, that house was worth $600,000, $700,000. So now if someone sells that for $600,000 or $700,000, comes up here, well, they can buy a lot of house for $600,000 or $700,000. So they're willing to pay more because they're used to that, and that does drive the market, like you know. And this is a hot market because our homes are so low. Well, what's going to happen? That's going to change. I talked to my son-in-law. His mother-in-law lives in a home that's it's less than 900 square foot. It's a 900 square foot ranch with a basement. He told me that house in New Hampshire is worth $400,000. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's a nice, cute little place for his mother-in-law to live in, but around here, I mean, if anyone's familiar with Seneca Knolls, it's about the size of the homes in Seneca Knolls. 400,000. I don't know if you're going to get 400,000 in Seneca Knolls for one of those, but they are getting a lot more than they got before, than they did last year. I know that.
And it is, and like you said, it's across the board. It's not just in the town of Lysander or Van Buren or the village. It's, it's Liverpool, Cicero, Camillus. And I did talk to somebody yesterday, just a random, kind of over a cup of coffee conversation. And he felt that it was just Syracuse area catching up with a lot of the other cities. So we'll see. Everybody has their views on how it's going to work, but those letters were definitely shocking to a lot of the residents in the area when they saw how much their assessment. I think we knew it's probably going to go up, but just the amount that it went up to some people, especially if they have not been watching the real estate market.
Right. And if you have a 1,500 square foot house, if you were to sell a house, what's the most desirable house today? 1,500, 1,800 square foot, right?
Depending if you're upsizing or downsizing. Yeah.
Right. $150,000 to $250,000, probably the most desire. I mean, the ones that are in the most demand right today, right? Is that a fair statement?
Maybe I would say 150 to 175 has the most competition out there. That's where people are competing the most. There was an article actually written of somebody in our area listed a home, had 51 offers on it. And that was closer to the city, so there's everything. The supply is so low, Bob, that everywhere you want to live you're just competing. It used to be maybe if you wanted to be in a certain part of, you wanted land in the garage, as long as you weren't too particular, maybe you were the only person, a house could sit on the market for 5 or 6 days, you come in. Now it's hard. 3 days on the market. And sometimes it's only 3 days because the agent set it up that way with the seller to give people time to walk into that home. So I'm a real estate dork, Bob. You'll get me talking real estate and I'll never stop. So.
Well, and this is why we have some a minority of people in the town of Lysander. If it was up to them, there wouldn't be any growth at all. None. They wanted to say the same as it was in the 1800s. If they could put trees along West Genesee Street and put the wood sidewalks back in, they would be doing that. That's just unreasonable. So we have to, in order to keep the tax base down, we have to have some growth. Now, I'm not somebody that is going to just put in anything here, just so we have growth. Cookie cutter houses all over the place. Industry all over. No, that's not what I'm suggesting. But we're looking at a number like that warehouse, and that I got a couple of calls, not a lot, but I got a couple. But even with that, some people said, we don't want that there. Well, it's right at the end of 690. The town is not going to experience any traffic at all. That's going to be all 690 to the thruway. That's the type of business it is. That's going to bring in a substantial amount of tax revenue to the town. It's about as clean as you can get. It's a parts warehouse. That's really going to help out with the tax base in the town of Lysander. We're looking at some other housing developments. I've been working with a developer, not I, but the town has been working with a developer on Hayes Road to put in some more homes over there. And that's going to be a nice development when that gets through. That's going to help the tax base, and it's going to bring in $2 million worth of sewer infrastructure that the town residents don't have to pay for. It's going to save the school district $1.5 million in cost to put sewers in, because they have to do it for the Palmer School. So we're looking at growth, but smart things that are going to enhance the community and not detract from it. I'm talking to some developers right now about having some senior housing that's going to be affordable senior housing. We don't have a lot of that here. That's McCary Park on the other, in Van Buren. I guess my wife was talking to a friend of hers parents that live over there. They said there's a 20-year wait list. Well, if you're 75 and there's a 20-year wait list, you might not make it to the finish line with that one. So, because of that, I started talking to some of our local developers about, hey, did you think about putting senior housing in? And we're in conversations about that. And there'll be affordable senior housing. So when people do have to downsize, if they could get in this affordable senior housing and not have to maintain their house, they're going to get a higher value for their house, because obviously the values are up, and they're going to be able to move into an affordable, nice community that's made for seniors. Those are the type of things that moving forward that we are trying to do right here. And I think those will be well received by the community, because I already told these developers, I'm not going to put my thumbprint on any project that 10 years from now, I'm not going to be able to walk, or I'm going to be able to walk down the street and people are going to throw tomatoes at me because of the crummy development or a meatpacking factory that Bob Wicks allowed to go into the community. I want to be able to walk down the street and, at least have people say hello. So I'm going to live here too. I'm not going anywhere. My family lives here. We plan on living here. So I want the same type of community, but I do see a need for growth. And that's what we're trying to do, so that we can lessen the tax burden. Even though if your home assessments go up, if you have 100 homes and your assessments go up, you're probably going to pay more in your taxes. But if your assessments go up and you have 200 homes, now you're not, because it's spread out between 200 as opposed to 100. So I think that's the way we need to go. So when we get when these developments come in, I want to hear the people that are in favor of it, not just the squeaky wheel that doesn't want any growth or development at all. And if it's a bad project, tell me it's a bad project. But the ones that we are working on, I think, are very, very good projects that aren't going to increase the tax revenue. Most likely aren't going to be, that warehouse isn't going to be a burden on traffic, isn't going to be a burden on our roads, isn't going to be a burden on the schools. But yet we get tax revenue. The other, if we have senior housings, not going to be a burden on the schools, not going to be really cause traffic unless you go between 11 and 1. 11 and 1, 11 and 2, you might have a problem. If you want to go in for the early bird special, it's probably going to be busy. But
you're gonna get backslash for that one. I can feel it, Bob.
I'm signing up for Medicare, so I think I qualify. I'm getting the in 15 days. I'm going to have to go and sign up for Medicare, so I think I qualify to say that. The only good thing about turning 65 is I get silver sneakers. So my gym memberships, and I can go to any gym, which is a benefit. That's the only benefit to turning 65. I can tell you that much right now.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. So, well, is there anything else? I know I kind of hopped into that assessment because I wanted to, you said you were willing to talk about it and I thought it was important. Was there anything else on your list to cover for this month?
No, I think we covered a lot. I mean, the assessments, listen, there's nobody at the town that doesn't feel for these people. I had an older gentleman, his wife passed away. And he lost, he's on a fixed income and his assessment goes up. I mean, we all feel bad about that. Whatever I can do, whatever we can do to lessen that, to help people out, we will do that. But some things are just out of our control. I don't know what to do about that. I mean, if somebody's got an idea, give me a call. But if we can help you out with navigating the assessments, if you have a question about how to, where it is or what you got to do, or, call the assessor and come in. And I encourage people. I want people to come in and talk to the assessor about their assessment. Do not stay home. Come in and talk to them, because I've done that before and my assessment was lowered. So I can tell you from experience that it can be lowered. And just like you said earlier, if you're being compared to all brand new houses, say a new housing development went up next to you and your house is 40 years old with no improvements, well, your assessment is probably going to go up to match that. Well, you need to come in and let them know, because right now, like you'll probably attest to, there are so many houses out on the market. The assessor cannot get out to every house and look at every house in time. They have to go on certain indicators, certain stimulus that, tells them what to do with the assessment of an area. That's why it's really incumbent on people to take that into their control. Do it every year too. I would come in every year, unless it goes down or it doesn't change, and you're happy with it. Yeah,
I do know somebody who's went down, and they sent a picture of me and said, should we notify them that maybe this is a mistake? And I'm like, no.
Yeah. If excuse me, if somebody makes a mistake in your benefit, keep it.
Too funny.
I encourage you to keep it. Do not.
Do not.
No, because you're not going to like the result.
Yeah.
If they make a mistake. If they made a mistake, I'm sure they'll catch up to you eventually, because probably someone's going to compare someone to your house and then, we made a mistake here. But, my assessment went up as well, and I know what the housing costs are. And when it went up, I thought it was fair. I thought, and I'm not just saying that, but I did think the amount that mine went up was fair. So What are you going to do? I don't like to pay more taxes either.
Yeah, no, me neither. So, all right. Well, thank you, Bob. I guess if you have questions for Bob, you guys can call, over at the town. But if it's an assessment question, it probably needs to go to the assessor. And then, otherwise, I guess I'll talk to you next month, unless I see you around the town building at any point in time this month, Bob.
All right. Thanks again.
Sure. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.